Hello guys, today we're going to take a look at another one of my controller designs. This is the version 3 controller. It's actually version 3.1, so I'm guessing at some stage I showed this on the channel, but I just can't remember how much we actually got through on it. So in today's video we're just going to take a look at the different features and I'll explain what's going on here. So the idea with this controller was that you would be able to control your forward, your reverse and your steering with your right thumb, which would leave your left hand free to adjust the encoder. So the reason you'd want to do that is if you were coming along with a vehicle like this one, and let's say you're in your coffee grind sort of field, so that's replicating soil, and the tractor is going up and down on bumps like this and you're trying to level it out, so you need to have control of the rear linkage. So you want to be able to adjust this as you steer the vehicle. So I guess I'll just show you what I mean. So turn on our tractor, turn on our controller. I have the first ID set to this one. This vehicle ID is actually 2, but I have number 1 set as 2. I think 2 might be set to the Scania, which is 11. Then I think there's another few trucks on it, but it was just for testing it out. So as you can see, our encoder is controlling our rear link, and then we have our speed control. So let's say you're coming along with your tractor, and as it's going up and down you can adjust your rear link. So that's the idea there. So it's pretty simple, and basically it's just come from what I've discovered while using this controller. So with this one you push front and back to drive, and left and right with the right joystick to steer, and then you needed this hand free here to adjust the rear linkage. So this one has everything. You've all the controls for every vehicle you could want basically, and you can see everything on the screen. You can choose all the vehicle IDs, but sometimes it's a little bit useful to have something like this for just things like when you're in that sort of coffee grind field doing sort of land leveling or any of that sort of thing. So that's the idea behind it. Our joystick here is controlling the rear link in mode 1. You can see the LED on the top here. We flick to mode 2, and that changes that this control is now going to operate a trailer. So if you were pulling the mower with this and you operated the encoder here, you would be turning the steering angle, the John Deere trail mower, you would be turning the steering angle of that mower by adjusting this control, and you hit it again, you're back into drive mode. So mode 1 is kind of driving, mode 2 is accessories. So I don't think you're able to drive in mode 2, no, so that's probably freed up for some other controls, but I can't remember what I've programmed it to do. So basically you would go to mode 2 to adjust your trailer and go back to mode 1 then to drive. But in drive mode you have control of the rear link as well. So that's that. Then we do also have controls for the lights. The lights on this, this is an original CQ model, so it's kind of wired a little bit differently. When you hit the button here, the lights are coming on. I think I need to update the code on this so that when I hit the button they go off. I think by default they're so that's with no control and the lights are off. When we have this on, the lights are off. Okay, the tail lights are on. Okay, so the tail lights are on. I knew there was something not right with the lights here. So when you turn the headlights on, the tail lights are going off. That's not what you want. For some reason the indicator's coming on as well. Not sure if that's oh no, actually they're both on. So yeah, the code on this a little bit sketchy for the 6920S, just to do with the way the CQ one is wired. I think I've explained that in a couple of other videos anyway. So let's take another look. Let's see what mode 2 does when we hit these lights. Maybe that's indicators actually. No. Oh, something's happening there. So that's flashing, but it's the timing is way off, looks like. I don't know, there's a little bit of code to be sorted out on it yet, I guess. The final button here on the right, it changes your ID, so that's out of ID 1. Look, the timing works fine when you disconnect from the tractor, so something to do with the controller code is delaying that indicator speed. But regardless of that, we hit the button here and we change our IDs. So we're back to our tractor here, but we're in mode 2, that's why it's not driving, so mode 1. One thing that I will need to add to this that will make it a little bit better is the ability to change gears like we could do with the other controller. So on the other controller there's 3 gears, 1, 2, 3. Gear 1 obviously the slowest, so when you push the joystick fully forward in gear 1, the tractor moves slowly along, and that means that in your movement as you push the joystick forward you have more control at a slower speed, and that's pretty ideal for when you're trying to do these kind of land leveling kind of things. And then when you go to speed 3, that's obviously full power. This is permanently speed 3, so when we push the joystick forward we get full speed. This is the second version of this, so version 3.0 would have been the first one. This is 3.1, and I discovered a few issues here. I don't think we ever got programming anything with the version 3 one. If I remember correct, the standoffs here were in the way of the microcontroller here. By the way, this is the version 4.1 control board that's in here, and I just have it reprogrammed to, you know, to act as a controller instead. So that's exactly the same board that we put into the tractors. So when I was trying this code out, I realized that I had wired 2 pins of the encoder here to 2 pins that didn't use interrupts. So what that meant was when we turned the encoder here, it didn't interrupt the processor and tell it that we were turning the encoder. And that meant that when we read from the encoder, we might miss most of the jumps. So you could be twisting this encoder quite a bit and basically nothing was happening, or it was going forward and back even though you were only going one direction, so it just wasn't working properly. It turned out I had 2 interrupt pins and I was just using them for switches, so they weren't really being used to their full potential. So all I did here was just cut the wires on these 2 switches, the joystick switch and this one, and cut the wires going to the encoder pins and just swap them. So now our 2 interrupt pins go to our encoder pins over here, and our 2 standard digital inputs go to the 2 switches here. So that's how we're getting our control front speed 1 or ID 1. So that's just a little bodge that we'll have to do, and in the next version of it, the 3.2 I guess, we'll just swap around those wires and make sure that it's going to work the way we want it. To power this, I just seen these battery boxes on eBay. They are for 3 AAA batteries. I have rechargeable batteries in here, so they tend to be a little bit bigger. They have this real thick coating on them, so you can see there tends to get caught in every battery case that I put them into. So this one's not closing just perfectly, but if you had normal AAA batteries in there, I'm sure that would close just perfect. It's not too bad, like, I mean, it's fitting alright. But to attach this this battery case to our PCB here, I just scoured the back of it with the craft knife. So I just cut some grooves in the PCB and cut some grooves in the case here, put some hot glue on and pushed the 2 together, and as you can see, not one bit of it is straight, so that's pretty perfect. Then we have our little on off switch here is built into the case, so that is pretty ideal. It seems to have taken a pretty good grip here despite not being straight, but sure, it's not a big deal. It actually fits your hand a little bit better because your fingers naturally twist in towards the end, but I think well, it fits my hand pretty perfectly, I guess. It depends on the size of your hand where it would fit pretty perfectly, but for me I think that that works pretty good. So I have a few of these PCBs. I'll probably make up these controllers and just put the jumpers on the underside here, and I'll put them on when I'm installing these components, so you won't see these wires on this side. So I'll have a few of them to make up. I'll probably put them on the eBay site at some stage with like a set of controllers maybe, and I'll probably program them up so that you have one of these controllers set to 1, 2, and kind of be like a starter kit, I guess. But you'd probably still want to program your own controllers when you get them anyway, just to make sure everything was right. So let me know in the comments what you think of that idea, if you reckon it'd be something you guys would be interested in. But for now, that's all I have on this controller. Hopefully you found it interesting, and maybe it'll inspire you to go and design your own controllers. So if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the like button, and make sure you're subscribed and you have the bell on so you'll get updates on the next videos. But that's it for today. Thanks very much for watching.